when you do that, you'll be able to go to the next step, which is to look into something interesting we want to talk to you about, which is a cost-benefit analysis. And what's the cost of doing the reform, and what's the benefit of doing a reform? And you remember in a different video we talked about the advocacy and the communication and for policy reforms. And we said, it's very important to make people understand about the benefits. You cannot look at the benefits if you don't understand what's the baseline data and what's this reform that you're proposing, this change that you're proposing will bring about. So if you're saying that you want to put a new road somewhere, you have an infrastructure reform you want to do, or an infrastructure project, or you want a new dam to be created in this region, you have to say before, this is the kind of amount of cubic meter of water that the farmers have, but if we put the dam, this is how much they're going to be able to have over time. Today we have electric consumption of that much, and there is that much stoppage in the system. If we have this dam and it's a hydroelectric dam, this is how much we're going to get. So you need to go at the you need to understand the baseline data, you need to understand what the benefit of it, and then you need to understand the cost of what's going to be done. And the cost can be able to give you a cost-benefit analysis ratio, and from that you're going to be able to know, oh, I want actually to go forward with this reform or not, or you're going to be able to sell it a little bit better. So we use for this cost-benefit analysis, I just want to give you a flavor of it, and I'm using a file that was done many years ago by a great colleague of mine, Jackie Coolidge, and it's an Excel file that you can download here as an exercise, and it's right below, and I'll open it now, and I'll just give you a very few flavor about this thing. So here is the file. It's called BOT for back of the envelope aggregate cost saving. This is a calculation of the costs, the benefits of doing a reform and trying to measure the financial benefits of doing a reform. And this goes along the doing business reform indicators. But of course, you can use that for any example of reform you have. And I just want to give you a flavor of it. So it's not perfect, it's not completely accurate, but I just want to give you a flavor of what you can do with Excel. Very simple thing, back of the envelope measurements, to say, wow, this reform can have huge impact. But often people don't actually calculate what the impact is. Give me numbers and I'll be more prone to support this reform. So here, I'll go for the first table here. It's about starting a business. If you want to start a business, it takes some money, and it takes also a number of days with a number of paperwork you have to do. And so this file here is all about trying to help you calculate how much it is today and how much it could be tomorrow. So you can say you have some numbers in yellow. The files in the cells in yellow are some that you can change yourself. And so you can say today the fee to the dollar per firm, the cost to create a business is my baseline is $1,400. But after the reform, it will be, let's say, I will put $600. Right? So the reduction is $800 right next to it. And you take that from the source, can be maybe a doing business indicator. You can find that online at thedoingbusiness.org. Then how much do you pay for a lawyer in a dollar per firm? How much do you pay in terms of the lawyer doing the necessary step to perform the registration and so on? Well, before you used to pay $1,500, but now you're going to pay only $300 because the process has been reduced. The time duration is going to go from 74 days, which is a baseline that you have in your country, to maybe, let's say, 24 days, because we're going to reduce the number of steps. So you can have 50 steps that's going to get reduced. Again, so you get this from the doing business. Then you're going to make some kind of estimate of when you're talking about when you have an administrative process, it doesn't take even if it takes 5 days to get a paper, it doesn't take a full staff waiting for 5 days to get a paper, it gets maybe 10% of his time because he goes and checks on it, he has to follow on it. So we'll put here about 10% of the time of a staff to take care per day of administrative requirements. And it's not going to change that much. But in terms of it's still 10% before and 10% after. But what's going to change is the number of hours that it's going to take of staff time to deal with it. So the time it takes. So it goes from 59 to 19. So here, eventually you also input the information about the cost per the wage rate, the cost per hour or the cost per day for a worker. And what you get, you can say the number of firms affected by this reform, in this case is 5,000, and you can say, well, this is the amount of reduced fees and reduced costs for lawyer and reduced staff costs that I'm going to get if this reform gets implemented. But because I have 5,000 firms, it's $10,800,000. And so the aggregate cost saving over 4 years, if I take this and I multiply by 5, it's 54 million. So a simple reform like this, you can calculate relatively big number. Of course, those numbers are not fully accurate. There is a lot of things to take into account. This is extremely simplified, but I just wanted to show you a very simple system you could use. And I thank Jackie for coming up with this system. And she did it for the tax, an indicator on tax, an indicator on business operation, and on an indicator on trading across border, the cost to export per container before and after, the cost to import per container before and after a reform, the time to export, the time to import, and eventually some benefits you can get for the exporters. And so there is a good example that you can use to calculate the cost and the benefit of a reform. Because if you say, well, this is the cost of doing this reform, you can say, well, the benefit here is going to be $661 million over 5 years. And these are arguments that you can use, of course, not only to measure yourself, but really to advocate for the reforms. And so that's just a small exercise I wanted to show you, and people can play with it. And we have a sheet with more exercise that you can use for your own indicators. And we took the example of starting a business based on the doing business indicator, and you can try it with Peru, UK, Yemen, Democratic Republic of Congo, and others. And you can try that and see how you use a file like this. We're not advocating that you use this. We're advocating that you come up with your own system that will enable you to measure the benefits of each of the reforms that you are proposing. Each of the programs, what's going to be the baseline you're starting from? You have to research it, invest into it, and what's going to be the benefit and how you're going to be able to calculate it. And altogether, this going to help you with your monitoring and evaluation of your public-private dialogue. So we wanted to give you just a very short overview of the different tools you can use, a little overview about the PPD evaluation wheel, and give you the occasion to do a self-evaluation, overview of the PPD reform process table, and give you an occasion to try that out by yourself, the PPD scorecard, the PPD log frame, and the cost-benefit analysis. And with all this, we hope that you're at least a little bit more interested into the topic and will want to try to devise a system that works for you, for your context. And don't hesitate to call us if you have, or write to us if you have any question or information you want to share. And the best will be to leave comments down there and to give us an example of what you're using in your dialogue process. Thank you very much.